Hey everyone, this is Blake Lensing, and this is week 3 discussion post. My first notable nugget was the difference between equity and equality, and this is something that I have worked with in other classes before, especially in my math modeling class where we had to determine the fairness of school funding and teacher pay. And I concluded that being equitable would be more fair, but it contradicted everything that I have heard growing up, because everyone wouldn't be receiving the same thing, so I didn't really understand how that could be fair. And this week's readings confirmed that my thinking of equitability is more important than equality at times, and it gave me the confidence to be able to use this in my future classroom. My second notable nugget was thinking of society as a salad bowl rather than a melting pot. And this was a new idea for me because I've always heard the idea of the melting pot as a positive, but looking back at it now, it doesn't really make sense. By thinking of society as being a salad, you're able to visualize how everyone adds something to society, much like an ingredient in a salad does. You're able to taste all the different flavors of a salad from these ingredients, and society should see all the unique cultures that are within, just like the different flavors. And this should be the new norm rather than thinking of the melting pot and the one-size-fits-all mentality. And this is something I'm definitely going to implement in my future classroom. And then my final nugget from this week was the 4-step model for professional development in multicultural education. And these steps include awareness, knowledge, skills, and plan. And this made me realize that multicultural education has a lot more to it, and in order to be successful, I need to be aware of what reality is in the world around me and have knowledge of the cultures of the students I'm teaching, as well as develop skills to teach diverse learning styles and cultures of my students that I will be teaching, and create an action plan in order to do so. And I think this is a great model to follow when I become a future teacher and ties into the idea of differentiation very well. And what is my understanding now after this week's learning of multicultural education? I believe multicultural education is the recognition, acceptance, and integration of culture into a curriculum. I believe that is important for teachers to understand the cultures and learning styles that they are surrounded by and to appreciate them, as teaching students about the world around them is very important. And if a teacher isn't appreciative of the cultures that they're teaching, how do they expect students to do the same? And then, based on this week's learning, I need to be more aware of the world I live in and appreciate the different cultures and communities that are within it. I'm also going to be practicing the 4-step model in my classroom to help me do so. I need to be teaching about all cultures rather than just the majority, which is what we usually see. I'm going to implement the idea of equity over equality because there will be times that other students are going to need more help than others. And I can make this happen by allowing for tiered learning, which is making a lesson plan for more advanced students that need to be challenged and providing supports in order to help students that are not as advanced. And then after this week's learning, I don't really have too many experiences about multicultural education, but I've done research on bits and pieces that go into it. I grew up in Billings, Montana, where there really is no diversity in the first place, and the closest thing we got to multicultural education was the Native American Studies that was required to be taught once a year. On top of that, I went to a high school that was known to have the richest kids, and I would not say my family is rich by any means, but we had a solid socioeconomic status, and I was very blessed. And then with this combination, you really don't see multicultural education. However, I took a genocide class my senior year, and it was probably the best thing for me because I was able to see the hardships that the world faces that many people don't really hear about. And I This class made me realize how truly blessed I am. And on top of this, my freshman year of college, as well as last semester, has allowed me to look into the ideas of achievement gap and the idea of equity over equality. I've written papers on both these subjects, so I believe I have a fairly good understanding of these topics and how to help to avoid the negatives. I think my biggest strengths I bring to being a multicultural educator is that I'm very curious to learn new things and create new experiences, as well as empathy for the hard times. I think my curiosity will lead me to be more aware and appreciative of cultures around me that will help me lead to my students knowing that they are validated, which may be a new experience that some students haven't had before. I think empathy for hard times is a big thing too, because I know I don't personally like talking to people about my hard times if I know they really haven't gone through hard times either. But by being open that everyone experiences these hard times, I will hopefully lead students to being more open to having these discussions and to have a more positive outlook on their lives. And then if I were to have an interview right now, they asked me what my position of multicultural education would be, I would say that I do not have a full understanding of what it is, for I haven't really grown up and had my own experiences with it, but I'm working very hard to be aware of my surroundings and learning to appreciate the world around me.